Before we get started, I just want to say I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving and got to spend some quality time with your families. I'm extremely thankful to each and every one of you who supported me throughout the last couple of months, and it really does mean a lot that you're all sticking around. And I really do appreciate all of you getting me to 500 subscribers before the year was out. I didn't think I could make such a goal so quickly. It pretty much felt overnight, and it pretty much was, so thank you so much, and I appreciate all of you. But that's all I wanted to say. Enjoy the video. So the new episodes of Invincible come out on Thursday and not Friday, huh? Well, On this, the week of Thanksgiving Day, we all get to be thankful for a new episode of Invincible Season 2. The show has been so good so far, and I can't wait to talk about this episode with all of you. But before we get to that, be sure to check out the Discord server if you want to get more involved with my community. It's a really cool place to hang out, great place to share memes, great place to make some new friends, and it's just an all-around amazing place to hang out. Also, thanks to everyone who's been submitting questions and memes for the 500 subscriber special. It really does mean a lot to me that you're so engaged. And of course, if you haven't already, be sure to check out our podcast. We have a whole bunch of fun recording it, and we got some pretty interesting topics lining up for the upcoming episodes. And it's just another great source of content for all of you to check out when we're not doing our usual thing, so be sure to check out the podcast with the link below. But enough talking goddamn promotions, let's talk about Invincible Season 2. So episode 3 starts off with Debbie sending Mark off to college. Invincible's a big boy now. And not long after getting settled, he does some real big boy activities with Amber, if you know what I'm saying. Out of nowhere, a narrator just appears and says what we're all thinking. Let's give Mark and Amber some privacy. So we move over to space, where we learn about the Unopans, aliens who achieved perfect harmony with nature and technology. Like all good things, their civilization wouldn't last, as the Viltrumite Empire rolled into town one day. After many years of oppression, the Unopans tried to rebel, but it didn't last very long. But some Unopans were able to escape, forced to create breeding camps to keep their species from extinction. The Unopans' resilience against the Viltrumite Empire caught the attention of Thetis, leader of the Coalition of Worlds. The Unopans request assistance in developing a weapon to use against the Viltrumites in exchange for joining the Coalition. Turns out the breeding camps were the weapon the Unopans were developing, trying to create the perfect super soldier to counter the Viltrumites. The results weren't promising. Until, of course. Even before adulthood, Alan was the strongest fighter the Coalition had. I mean, it's no surprise, look at the guy, he's buff as hell. But his first mission against a Viltrumite resulted in a bad beatdown, and the project that created Alan was considered a failure. In the present day, Alan is reporting to the Coalition, telling them all about his encounters with Invincible. Many members of the Coalition are skeptical, seeing as Mark is half Viltrumite, but Thetis has faith in Alan's findings. As Alan is leaving, Thetis consults to Alan that he suspects there might be someone inside the Coalition whose loyalty might be to the Viltrumite Empire. Alan accepts the task of finding the traitor without question, and flies home for the night. Saying hello to his pet, Vorge, Alan soon finds himself under attack in his own home by that general lady we saw earlier. Turns out they're a couple, and they, get a little busy, so our narrator friend moves us back to Earth. But Mark and Amber are still busy, so the narrator has us follow the adventures of Vorge. A little later, Alan and his partner go get some grub and talk quietly about the possibility of a traitor being amongst the Coalition. That is before some Viltrumites show up looking for information about Omni-Man. They beat Alan to near death, and he's left in a medical coffin-looking thing. As Alan's girlfriend is standing over him crying, Thetis asks if he could have some time alone with Alan. Thetis then proceeds to shut off Alan's life support, revealing that he, the leader, might in fact be a traitor. We cut to credits, and the episode ends. Psych, you thought. Haha, got him.
Got him!
Back on Earth at Guardians HQ, Rex, Duplicate, and Monster Girl are having a good workout. Kate and Rex are talking about the whole cucking situation from last episode, and in a rare moment, Rex actually shows a little bit of emotional investment in one of his fellow Guardians. Duplicate explains that her and the Immortal are a thing because they both understand what it's like to die over and over again. I mean, hell, how many times has the Immortal died? Like, what, 3, maybe 4 times, and then Duplicate pretty much dies every episode, technically speaking? Monster Girl interjects, saying how Rex doesn't really get it, and Rex obviously is annoyed at her eavesdropping. Mr. Shapesmith shows up looking for a place to exercise, and he's being as goofy and strange as last episode. That is until he starts standing on a treadmill and starts walking in place, backwards, without turning the treadmill on. If anything says I don't understand humanity because I'm not human, this is it. We also get to see Rudy and Monster Girl do some bonding this episode, with Monster Girl helping Rudy get a little more in touch with his humanity when they go on a nice little date. But let's roll things back a little bit. After dropping Mark off at college, Debbie decides to call the number on the card Olga gave her. She's invited to a location and it ends up being a support group for spouses of superheroes. And that explains the SOS, Spouses of Superheroes. It's a neat little acronym. Olga being the Russian super badass that she was, I was expecting it to be some sort of like, I don't know, underground government thing that would like help her get revenge or something, I don't know. After her first meeting with SOS, one of the people part of the group invites Debbie to a bar in a very polite and very respectful manner. Debbie accepts, and she learns that this man was Green Ghost's husband before Omni-Man killed her. On their way out, Debbie reveals who her husband was in a desperate attempt to try and open up to someone who understands. Theo, that's that guy, gets quite spiteful and upset, and warns Debbie that she shouldn't come back to SOS, saying it wouldn't be safe for her. While all this is happening, William is trying to get some juicy details about Mark's time with Amber, having zero respect for his friend's right to privacy. There's a knock on the dorm room door, and William says it's for Mark in a pretty starstruck tone. At the door is Seance Dog, a fictional character that just shouldn't be real. Mark's instincts were right, and it turns out to be an alien in disguise from the Thraxan species. He came to beg for Mark's help in saving his homeworld from apparent world-ending meteor showers, and after a little convincing from William, Mark agrees. Cecil is absolutely pissed that Mark is just leaving to go to space, and Amber seems pretty disappointed too. After a 6-day ride, they arrive on Thraxon, which seems to have a lack of deadly meteors falling from the sky. When Mark asks about it, his escort is like, "What meteors?" And Mark's expression really says it all in this scene. Mark is told that the monarch of their world will explain everything, and Mark soon comes face to face with this monarch.
It's been a while. Dad?
So that was the plot summary of Alan the Alien, Season 2, Episode 3. And oh boy, this episode was full of twists and turns. First of all, Omni-Man. He's finally back, and we know where he is. I recall from my vague knowledge of the comics that he was on this planet of bug people. As soon as I saw the guy who came to take Mark to space, I was like, wait a minute, I've seen this bug thing somewhere before. I remembered seeing that type of species somewhere before, but I couldn't place where. And then when I saw the planet and all the other bugs and Omni-Man with his, like, armor on, I was like, right, this is what happened. This is where he went. But after all he said to Mark and after all he threatened to do, him being the sudden just ruler of a world is not a good look, especially since the Viltrumites are known for conquering worlds and taking them over by any means necessary. But then again, there's like no signs of destruction anywhere on the planet, and all the people seem pretty happy with him there, just judging by their faces. So maybe Omni-Man didn't conquer the planet? Maybe he was appointed monarch or ran for the position or something? I don't know. But Mark must be having all sorts of thoughts on why his dad is suddenly basically king of that world. I honestly didn't expect them to play the Omni-Man card this early, but he is extremely important to the story and one of the main characters, technically speaking, so it makes sense that they revealed it somewhat early in the show so they could, use him throughout the rest of the episodes. But speaking of character stories sort of continuing on and their character arcs being pushed forward, Rex's little moment in Guardians HQ where he showed just like that little spark of genuine emotional investment towards Kate and why, she cheated on him even though he himself is a cheater. That was a very small but very real hint of actual character development on his end. I mean, sure, most of it was probably just like jealousy and annoyance and probably pissed off at Karma, and rightfully should. He deserves what he got, but the fact that he's sort of, showing investment in the people that he's wronged and the people that he feels have wronged him but really haven't is like, he's very slowly moving in the right direction. And I do have a bit of a soft spot for Rex. If you've been watching my videos, you probably have figured that out by now. I have a little soft spot for Rexplode. It was also pretty nice to see Rudy and Monster Girl on a little date and seeing Rudy/Robot just completely not understand humanity. There was this one scene I didn't talk about in the plot synopsis where Rudy is just completely like baffled and just like confused by the concept of a burger mart and like the concept of burger and fries. But as soon as he eats it, he's like, oh, I understand why everybody eats this. Even though it's terrible for you, it's super delicious. And that was a really cool little scene. But I think one of the most obvious things to talk about from this episode is how half the episode is about Alan the alien, and he pretty much made it his episode. I mean, hell, the title card is even just Alan the alien. It's not Invincible, it's Alan the alien this episode. Learning about Alan's past and the sort of background of his species, the Unopans, and how they pretty much barely managed to escape against the Viltrumite Empire was really cool. And it was like, the narrator threw me off a little bit at first, but then it was like, oh, this actually makes sense why they're doing it this way. And it was really well told and executed, in my opinion. After Alan got the absolute crap beat out of him, and Thetis came and turned off his life support, I was thinking to myself, wait a minute. This guy's the leader of the one resistance that actually poses somewhat of a small threat to the Viltrumites. Why is he killing their best fighter? That, you know, naturally you'd think, like, oh, he's the guy in cahoots with the Viltrumites. But at the same time, it's like, does he have some other kind of motive for getting rid of Alan? Does he have some sort of ulterior motive that we just don't know about? Or is the dude just straight up insane and out of his mind? I mean, who knows? Everyone calls him Wise Thetis. The dude seems pretty dumb to me. And is Alan even gonna survive this? I mean, I don't think I can show it without blurring it, but after Alan got beat up real hard, his whole eye was out of his body. He was, you know, all his insides were outside, not where they're supposed to be, and he was probably missing most of the blood in his body. So is Alan even gonna survive this time? I recall vaguely from the comics that Alan got really buff all of a sudden. Like, at one point he was normal, like how we're seeing him, you know, in the show, but then out of nowhere he got like super giga ultra buff. Maybe after this incident we see in the show, they like do some sort of experimental procedure that makes him even beefier. Is that what happens? If that is what happens, then great, I guess correctly. If not, then, well, screw me, I guess. Debbie's part in this story was, like, very good, like, really showing her grief and how she's, like, barely coping with everything is, like, really emotionally impactful. I gotta say, aside from Eve's plotline whenever she's on screen, and Mark's plotline, since, well, I mean, I'm just the most invested in him as a character, I'd say Debbie is honestly, like, one of the stronger points of the show, like, this season so far. Like, she was very much a strong point in the first season, but I don't know, the way they're, like, working with her character and molding her story and shaping it so far, it's just like, I've just been, like, every time she comes on screen, I'm like, oh, Debbie's on screen, I want to see where this goes. So yeah, I'm really excited to see her, you know, sort of deal with her grief in her own way and see what kind of crazy stuff that she gets herself involved with this time, because, I mean, last season, she was the one who uncovered that Nolan killed the Guardians. Aside from Damien Darkblood, I guess you could count him, but Debbie's the real detective here. If I were to say what the strongest point of this episode was, I'd honestly probably say that it was the backstory of the Unopans and the way it was presented and the enthusiasm and that the narrator gave during it. I'd say that was probably the strongest point of this episode, alongside the Alan the Alien title card. I just loved that thing so much. Play it again. Alright, now play it 3 times at 3 times speed. Alright, reverse all that. Alright, cut that out, Ovid. But those are my thoughts on Invincible Season 2, Episode 3. I'd love to see what all of you think down in the comments below. Do you think I'm an idiot who has no idea what I'm talking about? Do none of you believe me that I have vague knowledge of the comics because I'm remembering things as the show goes on? And I don't care. Tell me whatever you want. Just no spoilers for Episode 4. That's the only rule. No spoilers for Episode 4. And again, thanks so much for the support on my channel recently. It's been crazy how much support there's been. And I know a lot of you newcomers are coming in from the Invincible videos, but be sure to check out some of my other content, and be sure to check out my live streams every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. Fridays are becoming a lot more frequent now for all you OGs watching. And be sure to check out the Discord and the podcast in the links in the description below. I'd really appreciate it if you check out both of those things. Discord community is a great place to get involved with, like, videos and streams and stuff, especially the 500 sub special coming up next week. That was amazing. Seeing all your submissions have been a ton of fun. And check out the podcast. It's a passion project between myself, Luke, and Grim, and it really would mean a lot if you just, like, give it a listen or put it on in the background while you're cleaning or something like that. It's good. I think you'll enjoy some of the stuff we talk about, and new episode coming next Wednesday. Well, that's going to do it for now. I can't wait to talk about episode 4 next week, as well as release the 500 sub special I keep waffling on about. But that's going to do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and yeah, have a good day, everyone.